the investigation into the murders of Saqib Hussein and Hashim Ijazuddin would become a landmark case in digital forensics, demonstrating how modern technology can both enable crime and ultimately ensure justice. Within 48 hours of the fatal crash on the A46, Leicestershire Police had assembled a team of digital forensics experts who would spend the next 6 months piecing together one of the most comprehensive digital evidence trails in UK criminal history. The breakthrough came not from traditional detective work, but from the victims' own phones. Despite the devastating crash and fire, investigators were able to recover critical data from the devices, including the complete 999 call, location tracking data, and partial video footage from the chase itself. But it was the discovery of Saqib's backup cloud storage that provided the most damning evidence against Mahek Bukhari and her accomplices. The cloud backup contained months of messages between Saqib and Ansreen Bukhari, documenting their affair and the escalating blackmail situation. More importantly, it contained screenshots of threatening messages from Mahek herself, showing her transformation from concerned daughter to active participant in the murder conspiracy. The same technology that had enabled the blackmail had also preserved the evidence that would convict the killers. Detective Inspector Tim Lindley, who led the investigation, would later describe the case as a digital forensics masterclass. Every aspect of the crime had been documented electronically, from the initial planning stages through the final moments of the victims' lives. The investigators had access to over 50,000 individual pieces of digital evidence, creating a timeline so detailed that they could account for every minute of the conspiracy. The social media analysis was particularly revealing. Mahek's TikTok account, Instagram posts, and Snapchat stories provided a psychological profile of someone whose entire identity was built around online validation and image control. Forensic psychologists studying the case noted how her content became increasingly focused on themes of loyalty, family protection, and the lengths people should go to defend their loved ones in the months leading up to the murder. But perhaps the most chilling discovery was Mahek's behavior in the days immediately following the murders. While publicly posting condolences and sharing news articles about the tragic accident, she was privately celebrating with accomplices and researching how to avoid detection. Voice messages recovered from encrypted apps showed her expressing satisfaction that their problem had been solved and discussing how to maintain their alibis. The trial, which began in Leicester Crown Court in October 2023, would captivate the nation and set new precedents for how digital evidence is presented in murder cases. The prosecution, led by Collingwood Thompson KC, built their case entirely around the digital trail left by the defendants. Traditional forensic evidence like fingerprints and DNA was largely irrelevant. Instead, the jury was presented with a comprehensive digital reconstruction of the crime. The courtroom itself was transformed into a high-tech presentation space, with multiple screens displaying phone records, social media posts, location data, and message threads. Jurors were walked through the conspiracy step by step, seeing exactly how Mahek had used social media tools to plan and coordinate the murders. The prosecution's presentation was so detailed that they could show the jury what each defendant was doing minute by minute on the night of the murders. Mahek's defense team, led by Peter Joyce KC, faced an almost impossible task. The digital evidence was overwhelming and largely incontrovertible. Their strategy focused on arguing that Mahek had intended only to intimidate Saqib, not to kill him, and that the chase had spiraled out of control beyond her intentions. They portrayed her as a young woman who had made terrible decisions under extreme pressure, not a cold-blooded killer. But the prosecution's digital evidence told a different story. Messages recovered from Mahek's devices showed clear premeditation and intent to cause serious harm. Her research into methods of intimidation, her careful planning of alibis, and her recruitment of multiple accomplices all pointed to someone who knew exactly what she was doing and was prepared for violent consequences. The most dramatic moment of the trial came when the prosecution played Saqib's final 999 call to the jury. The courtroom fell silent as they heard the young man's terrified voice describing how he was being chased and rammed off the road. Several jurors were visibly emotional as they listened to the final moments of someone who had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Mahek's reaction to hearing the call was equally telling. Court observers noted that she showed no visible emotion, no sign of remorse or recognition of the human cost of her actions. Even when confronted with the consequences of her crime, she appeared more concerned with how she was being perceived than with the lives she had destroyed. The jury deliberated for just over 8 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all charges. Mahek Bukhari was convicted of 2 counts of murder, along with her mother Ansreen and 6 other accomplices. The speed of the verdict reflected the overwhelming nature of the digital evidence and the clear premeditation shown in the defendant's own electronic communications. On February 2, 2024, almost exactly 2 years after the murders, Mahek Bukhari was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 31 years and 3 months. Judge Timothy Spencer KC, in delivering the sentence, noted that the case represented a new low in the use of social media and digital technology to facilitate serious crime. He described Mahek as the driving force behind a conspiracy that had callously and deliberately taken 2 innocent lives. The judge's sentencing remarks were particularly critical of how Mahek had used her social media skills to plan and execute the murders. "You used the same platforms that had brought you fame and followers to research, plan, and coordinate a brutal murder," he told her. "Your obsession with maintaining your online image led you to value your reputation more than human life itself." The case has had far-reaching implications for how law enforcement approaches social media-related crimes. The Leicestershire police investigation has become a model for digital forensics teams across the UK, demonstrating how comprehensive social media analysis can provide unprecedented insights into criminal behavior and motivation. But perhaps more importantly, the case has sparked a broader conversation about the psychology of social media obsession and the dangerous lengths people will go to protect their online image. Mental health experts have pointed to the Bukhari case as an extreme example of how social media validation can become so central to someone's identity that they lose all sense of proportion and morality. The families of Saqib Hussain and Hashim Ijazuddin have become advocates for digital literacy and social media awareness, working to ensure that their sons' deaths serve as a warning about the dark side of online culture. Their message is simple but powerful. No online image, no matter how carefully constructed, is worth a human life. As for Mahek Bukhari, she continues to serve her life sentence, cut off from the social media platforms that once defined her existence. The TikTok account that once had over 120,000 followers has been permanently banned, her carefully curated content replaced by court records and news articles about her crimes. The perfect online life she killed to protect no longer exists, destroyed by the very actions she took to preserve it. The case stands as a stark reminder that in our digital age, technology is neither good nor evil in itself, but rather a tool that amplifies human nature, for better or worse. In Mahek Bukhari's hands, social media became a weapon of manipulation and murder. But in the hands of investigators and prosecutors, the same technology became an instrument of justice, ensuring that 2 young men did not die in vain and that their killer faced the full consequences of her actions.